It was a Sunday. The light was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Pearl District loft, catching the dust motes dancing over the custom marble countertops I'd saved for 3 years to afford. I'd made coffee. I thought this was a peace offering, a chance to finally connect. My parents sat stiffly on my ivory sofa. My little sister, Chloe, made herself at home, pouring a cup of my most expensive coffee, her 2 kids already scrambling onto the rug with their toys. Then my father cleared his throat. "Lindsay, we've decided. Your sister needs this apartment more than you do." The words didn't compute at first. They just hung in the air, ugly and foreign. I felt the ceramic mug grow hot in my hand, my knuckles turning white. I looked at my mother for a flicker of sanity. She just nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Wait. What?" was all I could manage. "It's for the children, Lindsay," my mother said, her voice soft but firm. "They need stability. You're so established. You can find another place." Chloe gave a little shrug, a smug, almost imperceptible curl of her lip. "It really is a perfect space for a family," she said, as if she were already measuring for curtains. That's when I saw her son, Ethan, pull a red permanent marker from his pocket and begin drawing a jagged line across my pristine white wall. My breath caught. "Ethan, no." Chloe waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, relax. Kids will be kids. It's just a wall." Kids will be kids. The words echoed in the silent, spacious room I had built with my own hands. In that moment, something inside me, something that had been bending for decades, finally snapped. My name is Amy Foster. For 35 years, I lived in the shadow of a narrative I didn't write, the strong one, the one who didn't need. It started young. I was raised largely by my grandmother, her house smelling of cinnamon and old wood. When my parents moved back with my new baby sister, Chloe, it was like a sun had entered our orbit. Everyone basked in her light. At 16, I got a used biology textbook for my birthday. Chloe got a cherry red convertible. I remember standing on the porch, watching her squeal with delight, the metallic paint gleaming under the Texas sun. When I asked my father why the disparity, he didn't even look up from his newspaper. "She needs it more. You're fine. You're fine." That was the mantra of my life. My accomplishments were met with a quiet nod. My sisters were celebrated with fanfare. When I got into design school on scholarship, my mother's response was, "That's nice. Your sister just got the lead in the school play." The final early betrayal came when I was 12. My grandmother passed away, leaving my sister and me $20,000 each. I dreamed of using it for college, but Chloe, at 10, had already mastered the art of manipulation. She cried to our parents, saying I was so independent and smart, I didn't need the help, that she felt so insecure next to me. They gave her my share, the entire $20,000. I found out years later she blew it on a trip to Vegas with friends the moment she turned 18. That $20,000 wasn't just money, it was a message. Your future is less important than her present. Your dreams are negotiable, her whims are law. So I stopped waiting for their approval. I built my own world. This apartment, it wasn't always this. It was a rundown shell 5 years ago, with cracked tiles and walls stained with years of neglect. But I saw its bones. I saw the light. I spent every weekend here, covered in dust. I sanded the original hardwood floors until my arms ached and my back screamed. I personally sourced the Italian cabinetry, negotiating with suppliers until I got the price right. I positioned every light fixture so the entire space would glow with a warm golden hour light, even at midnight. This wasn't just a project, it was my therapy. Every brush stroke of paint was a layer over a childhood wound. Every perfectly level shelf was a rebuttal to their belief that I was fine with less. It was my sanctuary, my proof. It was worth over $300,000, every dime earned by me. They never once visited during the renovation. They never asked to see it when it was done. Meanwhile, Chloe's life, the one they had so heavily invested in, was crumbling. A failed boutique left her $50,000 in debt. Her marriage collapsed. And my parents, as always, were there with open wallets, paying her rent, buying her groceries, funding her chaos. The family meeting was the declaration of war, but what came after was the occupation. Chloe started showing up unannounced. "Just in the neighborhood," she'd chirp, her kids barreling past me. My home became their playground. Juice stains bloomed on my oriental rugs. A treasured $900 mid-century lamp I'd restored lay in 100 pieces on the floor, and Chloe just shrugged. Mia got a little excited. Then, one Tuesday, I came home from a client meeting to find the smell of burnt popcorn hanging in the air. Dishes were piled in my sink. Someone had been in my kitchen. The spare key, the one I'd given my parents for emergencies years ago, she was using it to practice living in my home. I changed the locks that night, my hands shaking not with fear, but with a cold, building fury. The discovery felt like a punch to the gut. A business card tucked between my couch cushions. Donna Clark, Luxury Real Estate. My heart hammered against my ribs as I called, putting on my best impression of Chloe's breezy voice. "Oh yes," Donna said brightly. "Your sister was very interested in a quick appraisal, said it was a family decision to sell. Such a beautiful property." The room tilted. Sell. She wasn't just planning to move in. She was planning to liquidate my life, my history, my sweat and tears, to pay off her secret debts. The pieces were there, but I needed the final, ugly truth. I called my Aunt Martha, the one person in the family who had always seen Chloe for what she was. Over coffee, her face was grim. "She's been a con artist since she was a child, Lindsay. The inheritance? She didn't just take it, she orchestrated it. Told your parents you thought you were too good for the money, that you'd said it was beneath you. She played them perfectly." I sat there, the warm coffee turning to acid in my stomach. It wasn't just entitlement, it was calculated, premeditated theft. A lifetime of it. That night, I stood alone in my living room. The city lights of San Antonio twinkled beyond the windows, a panorama of a life I'd built alone. My eyes fixed on the faint, ghostly remains of the red marker on the wall, a stain I couldn't quite erase. And the voice in my head, the one I'd quieted for so long, finally screamed. "When is it enough? When you're homeless? When you've given her everything, and she comes for the clothes on your back? They have spent your entire life teaching you that you are worth less. When do you finally prove them wrong?" The pain didn't vanish. It crystallized. It turned into something hard, sharp and brilliant. It turned into a plan. I went to my colleague, Kevin Ross, a genius in property law. I laid it all out. The appraisal, the debt, the lifetime of manipulation. "We make it untouchable," he said. Within 48 hours, we had established an irrevocable trust. My apartment was legally transferred into it. I was the grantor, but Kevin and his attorney, Virginia Lane, were named as co-trustees. The terms were bulletproof. The apartment could not be sold, transferred, mortgaged, or touched by any court order, not even in a bankruptcy. It was legally locked away, forever. I gathered my evidence like ammunition. The recorded call with the realtor, the financial debt report Kevin procured, a sworn statement from Aunt Martha about the stolen inheritance. I was no longer a victim. I was a general preparing for the final battle. The text was simple. Family meeting, La Gloria. 7 p.m. Come alone. We end this tonight. She replied with a thumbs up. She thought she was coming to collect her prize. I arrived early, the black folder of documents feeling like a shield on the seat beside me. They filed in, my father stern, my mother anxious, Chloe radiating the smug confidence of the perpetually pardoned. The small talk was a brittle facade. I let it shatter. I slid the folder across the table. Before you speak, I know everything. I laid it out, piece by devastating piece. The secret appraisal, the $50,000 debt. I watched my parents' faces shift from confusion to dawning horror. Chloe tried to laugh it off. This is insane. You're paranoid. Shut up, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I'm not done. I turned to my parents. And I know about the inheritance. All $40,000 of it. How you let her convince you to steal my half when I was 12? My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's face went ashen. The foundation of their reality was cracking. Then I delivered the kill shot. I opened the trust documents. This apartment is now in an irrevocable trust. It is legally impossible for anyone but me to ever own, sell, or control it. It is mine. Forever. Chloe's composure shattered. She lunged for the papers, her hands trembling, as she saw the legal jargon, the notary seals, the unassailable truth. You selfish bitch, she screamed, her voice cracking. What about my kids? I leaned in, close enough to see the panic in her eyes, and whispered the words that severed our tie forever. Your kids deserve a better mother than a thief. My father tried one last time. Lindsay, we're family. No, I said, standing up. You're a group of people who taught me I could only rely on myself. The lesson stuck. I dropped cash on the table for my untouched drink. Don't contact me again. I walked out of that restaurant and into the warm Texas night, and I have never felt more free. The fallout was swift and brutal. My parents, faced with the undeniable truth of their golden child's deception, finally cut Chloe off. No more bailouts, no more rent. She was forced to get a job, a real one, as a retail manager. Her kids went to public school. The facade of her perfect, privileged life evaporated. She sent me a letter, a messy scrawl of half apologies and full blame. I read it once, then used it to light my fireplace. The warmth was more than it deserved. My parents tried to call. I blocked their numbers. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was peaceful. I repainted every wall in my apartment, covering the last traces of their invasion. My career soared. I threw a funeral for my toxic family party on my balcony with my real family, my friends. We laughed and toasted with champagne as the city lights glittered, a constellation of possibilities I had built for myself. The ultimate revenge wasn't the confrontation. It wasn't the legal maneuver. It was my indifference. It was building a life so beautiful, so full, that their absence became a gift. I didn't just save my apartment that day. I saved myself. And let me tell you, there is no feeling in the world more satisfying than that. This story gave you that sweet, sweet rush of justice. Smash that like button until it breaks. Subscribe, because I drop a new epic revenge saga every single week. And drop your own family betrayal story in the comments. The juiciest ones get turned into videos. Click the video on screen right now for another story that'll leave your jaw on the floor. I'll see you in the next one.